This is the iPhone 12 Pro. I've been using this smartphone for the last month as my daily driver to see if it has what it takes to be the best smartphone on the market. It's so good, in fact, that I've actually switched from my Galaxy and used this phone full time for over a month. This is Corey, and this is the iPhone 12 Pro review. So the iPhone 12 Pro is Apple's latest and greatest iPhone. It slots in between the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro Max. This, as the standard Pro version of the iPhone, has Apple really shown what they can do with this phone? Let's find out. So let's first talk about the display. So Apple made the display bigger on the iPhone 12 series. This one, the standard iPhone 12 Pro, has a 6.1 inch Super Retina XDR display. This is Apple's best display they've put on a smartphone, and actually it's really good. Now, I've been coming from an iPhone 10, and so the difference in display technology between the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 10 is big. If you are a older iPhone user, you will definitely notice this display. Now, by talking about the display, we can't skip over the notch. Now, with the iPhone 13, rumor has it that Apple is going to give their iPhones a smaller notch, but the notch hasn't bothered me. A lot of people say, it's time for Apple to get rid of the notch, but I don't find that big of a deal. The notch does not interrupt many things, and apps have pretty much adapted to the notch, so nothing really shows up over the notch. The only time the notch really gets on my nerves is when watching a full screen video, but other than that, I haven't noticed the notch with day-to-day usage. Another thing that Apple did with the iPhone 12 that they didn't do with the iPhone 11 series is they reduced the bezel slightly on the side of the phone. From the iPhone 11 Pro to the 12 Pro, the bezels on the side that go around the display are a bit shrunken. The bottom bezel is really small. So it's really impressive what Apple has done here. So the next point I want to bring up is build quality. This phone is the best built phone on the market, period. So coming to the sides, we have stainless steel and a kind of matte back glass on the back of this phone. So I got the gold color, as you can see, and you can see that this is a beautiful phone. But again, this is a review, so you're probably wondering, how did it stand up over a month of use? Now, it has been in a case. I already have a video about this case on my channel, so go check it out. This is the one from Spigen. I've had a case on this phone from day one, so that's not really a problem. But you can see there aren't no scratches on the side. This does pick up a lot of fingerprints. As you can see, there is a lot of fingerprints, so it's very hard to keep this phone clean. But since the back is this kind of matte material, it doesn't pick up fingerprints. So as you can see, there's no fingerprints on the back, which is pretty cool. One thing I did notice is stuff likes to come in these cameras, like they get in the edges of the cameras, but that's easy to wipe off. But other than that, other than the stainless steel sides picking up fingerprints, the build quality on this phone has held up over a month of usage. Now, as you know, this phone has the 814 Bionic processor in it, and it's a really fast processor. I mean, apps open up really quickly. There's really nothing, there's barely a difference I've noticed with the iPhone 11 Pro than the 12 Pro. There's a small difference, but with app opening speeds, they're about the same, a little quicker, but nothing that you would really notice. Now, as you know, this phone does have 5G in it. And I've noticed that 5G isn't the quickest on this phone, and it drains a lot of battery life, but we're going to wait until I'll talk about that later on in the video when we talk about battery life. But the 5G on this phone is great, but I haven't been seeing the speeds that I've been claimed to have. Now, you probably have seen this while I was tossing the phone around. You're probably wondering what this is. No, this is not a smart connector. This is just an antenna for the 5G modems. You will see these on all iPhone 12 models. This is not a smart connector. It is just an antenna for the 5G. Now, speaking of 5G, let's talk about the battery. The battery life on this phone is great. I mean, it's actually better than my Galaxy S20, which has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. I believe this phone has a 2,000 something milliamp hour battery, but it is a lot smaller. It's like half the size as the one in the Galaxy. But since iOS drains so little power, this phone's battery life is amazing. Now, it's not better than the iPhone 11 Pro because this does indeed have a smaller battery than the 11 Pro, but the battery life is amazing. I'm ending days without having to charge this phone at all. I've gone days without charging this phone. Some days I've just put the phone down, gone to bed, woke up, and it still had 20% left. You will get about 6 to 7 hours on screen on time of usage on this phone, which in my opinion is really good. That's a whole day's worth. I've only managed to kill this phone in a day once, because I was using it a lot one day, and it was on 5G. 5G does drain a lot of battery, so watch out for that. But battery life on this phone has been tremendous. I really never needed a better battery. A lot of people have been complaining about the battery life, but if you're really thinking about buying this phone, don't worry about the battery life. The battery life is great. So one thing I want to bring up is Face ID. Face ID is about the same speed as the iPhone 10. Apple kind of claimed this would be faster, but it's about the same speed. I haven't really noticed faster speeds. The only thing I did notice is it does unlock from a different angle. So like usually, I'll tell you one story. I had the phone sitting on the table next to my chair that I used the game on, and I was gaming, and I went to check my phone real quick, and it unlocked. And I was like, wow. It was sitting down like this, and I was sitting up in my chair, and I literally just kind of looked my eyes at it, and it unlocked. So that was pretty cool. But again, you won't notice a huge improvement in Face ID if you're coming from an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 10s or 11 Pro. Face ID is about as fast as those phones. Now, a big headlining feature of the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 series was MagSafe. Now, I don't have anything that's MagSafe compatible, but I heard that the feature was really good with like wallet cases and their MagSafe charger. So that's one thing to note, that this phone does have MagSafe, which will be, I think, it would be a lot better in the future. It's not really that good now, but once you wait for more case manufacturers and chargers to arise for the MagSafe thing, I think this will be really useful in the future. I want to bring up a couple more points before we get to the the camera, but I want to talk about the RAM management and storage. RAM on this phone is great. It has 6 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than the normal iPhone 12. So that would be a reason you would get this over the normal iPhone 12, is that more RAM. It has 6 gigabytes of RAM versus the 4 on the normal iPhone 12 and 12 mini. But I haven't really noticed that big of a difference. Again, it does keep a lot of apps open in the background, but I haven't noticed a big difference. I do still feel like my Galaxy S20 does keep apps open in the background better, but again, that has 8 gigs of RAM, so it's not really a fair comparison. But again, it does keep a lot of more applications than my iPhone 10. I have noticed that, but it's nothing that's, amazing. You know what I'm saying? And also, these phones do come standard with 128 gigs of storage, which is amazing. As you know, in 2021, 164 gigs isn't enough. And we know this. 64 gigabytes of storage is not enough in 2021. You'll have some people saying, oh, well, 64 gigs is perfect for me, but for anybody who really uses their phone, hardcore, 64 gigs is not enough. So I'm glad to see that Apple gave us a base of 128 gigs, because now they're catching up with the competition, because Android manufacturers have offered 128 gigs as standard for years now. So I'm glad that Apple is doing it. But just to note, this is only for the Pro models of phones. The iPhone 12 and 12 mini do start at 64 gigs. So keep that in mind if you're going for those models. So let's talk about the cameras. That's probably a reason why you would pick this phone up over, say, an iPhone 12, the normal model, or even a Galaxy. These cameras are the best, some of the best on the market. Now, I don't have the Galaxy S21 and some of Xiaomi's newest phones to test this with, but from my testing, this camera is the best smartphone camera I've ever used. So let me show you some photos here. Here's a photo that I took a couple days ago on my iPhone 12 Pro, and you can see it's a really good photo. Like, you can see the detail in the bushes here, and it's the HDR is amazing. It kind of brings out the blue in the sky, and it's a really nice and crisp image because of the HDR. You can see the sun in the background, and it really makes this a crisp image because of the HDR. And you can really see a test of the HDR from this photo. Now, we were directly facing the sun with this one, and you can see that the iPhone pretty much did this so well. You can see the detail. Look at this, how the sun is bouncing off the water of the river. This photo is very impressive. You can see my Galaxy would not have been able to do this, not at all, with this type of HDR level. Here's another one of a Aston Martin here that I saw as I was walking. In the detail in the lamp, the detail in the car, the grill, the detail is just amazing. I feel the iPhone kept everything sharp. So the trees in the background is sharp. This vehicle in the background is sharp, and then made the image pretty good. And HDR is really working. You can't really see this over the camera, but the HDR over here from the sun bouncing off of these objects is really good. Here's a portrait mode I took of myself, and you see the really good edge detection here. It did not blow anything out. You can see it kept everything fine and sharp, which I'm really impressed by. It did blur the background, and I'm really impressed by it didn't mess my hair up, the glasses, nothing is messed up in this photo. It did a really good job with portrait mode for this one. So yeah, the cameras are really good. The front facing camera and the rear facing camera on this phone are amazing. Now you probably see this little dot, that's the Lidar scanner. You're probably wondering, is the Lidar scanner really usable? And really it's not. I've only used the Lidar scanner like twice just because it was there and I wanted to show my friends that. But it's nothing special. Do not buy this phone over the iPhone 12 because of the Lidar scanner. The Lidar scanner is definitely not worth getting an iPhone 12 Pro over the iPhone 12. It's nothing special. I mean, I will show you some things that I did do with this phone. Let me get the app open. If you download an app called 3D Scanner, right? If we open it and we take a look at my scans here, I made a couple. We're going to go through this one. We'll use this one. And you can see it 3D mapped my room, which is very impressive. Honestly, I think this is the coolest part of the Lidar scanner is it basically scanned my entire room and did, yes, it's a low resolution, but it's very cool to look around a room in your house like this. Nothing's kind of like it. So we've reached the conclusion of this review, but you probably still have a couple questions. One, I'm going to answer all of these questions. So one, is the iPhone 12 Pro really worth it over the normal iPhone 12 model? And the answer is it depends on what you want in a smartphone. In my personal opinion, most people will be happy just buying an iPhone 12, the standard version, not the Pro. The only difference is that stainless steel, that matte back glass, you're getting 2 gigs of extra RAM, you're getting that base 128 gigs, and you're getting a telephoto lens in the Lidar scanner. But that's it. You're both getting the same Super Retina XDR displays on both the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro. They had the same exact bezels, the same 5G, the same A14 Bionic chip in it. So really, in my honest opinion, this phone is not worth it for the everyday consumer. But unless you really need the extra gig of RAM or you need that telephoto lens, I would go with the normal iPhone 12. Now, another question you may be asking, which phone should I buy? This or the Galaxy S21 or maybe the Google Pixel or something like that? And really, if you're in the Apple ecosystem, this is definitely the one you want to get. That's it. If you're in the Apple ecosystem and you want an iPhone because you have AirPods, you have a MacBook, you have an iPad, this is the phone to get. This is great. But if you aren't in the Apple ecosystem and you don't care about iPhones, I would still have a Galaxy S21 over this phone. But iOS is so smooth and buttery that, it is very compelling over an Android phone. But in my opinion, the Galaxy S21 is a better phone. But again, if you're in that Apple ecosystem, this is definitely not a bad option. So that basically sums up my iPhone 12 review. We will have a speed test in comparison of the Galaxy S20 versus the iPhone 12 Pro very soon, so watch out for that. But until then, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the likes button and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and peace out.